mindset. In third grade, probably any of you are too young to remember Micro Machines. There were tiny little cars, little toys that I had about 600 of them that I asked for all birthdays and Christmases, and I rented them to all my friends in third grade. And I had a tutoring company in high school where I helped tutor young kids that were trying to get through and mainly math subjects. So I had the entrepreneurial kind of path. And then when I finished up in high school, I used to go actually go to Harvard University, and then I transferred down to Wharton University and finished there. And was going to take the normal career path. Talk about my career path, and a lot of you are kind of in your, depending on where you are age-wise, we got, I'm sure quite a range here. But I had forks in the road for me, just like a lot of you have forks in the road. And, at that age, I was trying to figure out what my path was going to be. And I had a job offer from a company, and I was about to go work for them. Back in Atlanta, my hometown, all my family's here. I've got the two little sisters. My parents are one of four children, so tons of family here. And 2 weeks before I was supposed to start, they ended up going under. And I had an opportunity to either take another job and explore it or start my entrepreneurial career. And so that's the path that I took. So that was my fork in the road. I went to go pursue to work for a firm, and I ended up going down that path. And for the last 25 years, that's all I've done is build companies here in the U.S. And all of them have been global in nature. Product-based businesses, service-based companies. And growing my last business is what led me to learning about the phenomenal people of the Philippines. I had a company in the teeth whitening space. We actually made teeth whitening products for the beauty and the dental industry. And I started hiring staff and when we were building that business, and I helped us grow it. And so when I sold that business, decided I wanted to kind of get into this space, and hired J-Cell, named the woman that was my very first VA, who was able to grow and be our COO, or grew to 500 people. Just the unbelievable her growth and ability and talent, and inspired me to decide to launch a business to bring the same experience that I had to other small to medium businesses. I wasn't interested in kind of building necessarily a call center, that path per se, but really staff that can plug in and work and build their skills and work side by side with small to medium, businesses, in the United States. When I say small to medium, you're talking about companies that are anywhere from 5 to 6 employees up to, we've worked with people that are, 300. So that's kind of the career path that kind of brought me here. And it's been an amazing journey. It's the most fulfilling thing that I've ever done. And the impact we've been able to have locally in the Philippines as well, and the people in the community, which I'll kind of touch on a little bit. And we serve close to, it's actually about 85 different industries that we service now, in all functions: marketing, operations, customer service, and so forth. So anyway, share all of that so that all of you here listening can know that this isn't theory or concepts, but we live and breathe this. And with the amazing team, and a lot of our team members are on, some are on this evening, phenomenal team that have been a part of all of our journey, all the way through this process. In this operation. So that's kind of the background. And we've been fortunate to win a bunch of awards for kind of our journey. So that's a quick snapshot on us, just to kind of give credibility. About 16 million tasks, 100,000 candidates that we've kind of worked through over the years, over 700 companies. And we're going on our 6th year. So excited to be celebrating that. And real quick, I'll share with everybody here. I'm going to go through a lot. We're going to talk about a ton of resources, right? And I know the DICT has a ton of additional resources. When I do tons of speaking, I've spoken for 300 organizations globally. We just set up an email address. So if you just send an email to jobs@outsourceaccess.com, we are going to send you a whole bunch of great free resources that you can kick off your journey in this path, right? Whatever path you end up taking. And just put DICT in the subject line. So don't worry about writing a note or anything. Just send an email to that, or you can scan that QR code. We'll send you a complimentary personally profile assessment. This is one of the key things for you to get self-awareness of who you are. For the first 50 that send it, we can't do it for everybody here. We'd love to, because it's going to be a little costly on our end. But for the first 50, we're happy to send that to you, because it's a great stage, as I'll talk about, of self-awareness of who you are, what your skill sets are, and honestly, is this even a career path that's a fit for you? We'll send you a copy of the slides. And there's some guides that we put together for you. A starter guide on how to begin your VA journey, and a skills development roadmap, which we'll talk about, which is so critical. How to become a rock star virtual assistant. And then something really cool we're excited about is we're going to give you instructions about how to get free access to an executive assistant training program. Arnell from our leader and development team here, I think it's been his team put this together. We'll give free access to a number of folks. We'll show you how to get access to that. It's about 26 hours worth, pretty high value. So again, we want to be this packed full of value for you to walk away, whatever your path may be, that can help you in your journey. So hope to see you guys reach out for that content. And so this is a quick snapshot of the screenshot of the course, the Executive Assistant Essentials course that we'll be sending your way. So agenda here, the goal is to talk about the career path, the options. What are companies looking for when hiring, right? So what when you're going to present yourself and showcase for any company you're looking to work for, or if you're going direct and want to get a talent, client directly, the right mindset and traits to succeed, foundation skills for success, some of the common mistakes, and really everybody lean in and tune into this one, okay? Because as we said, we've gone through thousands of candidates over the years. So we've seen and we experience, right? People that don't last with our organization, or honestly, as this is a career path. And then adapting and thriving in an AI-driven, landscape. So we're going to be covering a lot of content here. Again, I think the recording will be available to everyone if you want to kind of go back. I'll be going pretty quickly. As you can tell, I talk pretty fast, but it's because I love this content and want to make sure you guys get tons of value in the journey here, okay? All right, so the career path, let's start there. All right, and sorry, my team finally got me all over to Canva, so I'm still getting in touch with little animations, a little tricky on the mouse there. So first of all, identify your niche, right? Specializing can help you stand out in a competitive market and attract better clients, right? So it's, if you happen to have a particular native interest or experience, right? Are there any industries that you have exposure to, right? Growing up, maybe in your family, or maybe, friends or in the, where you grew up. Is there anything that you're specifically have a background in, right? Did you grow up in commercial real estate, or did you have, a family that was in, retail? Is there a connection there? And what kind of tasks do you enjoy doing, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you want to love what you're doing and enjoy it. So choose something that aligns with your strengths and your curiosity, right? And look, this is also important. You don't have to be an expert, right? And this is the amazing thing about the Filipino culture and mindset is that I always say that, I mean, your country and people represent some of the fastest learners that are good communicators and willing to take feedback. And I've been amazed of some of the clients we've worked with and staff that we've brought on that never worked in that industry before. And within 2 to 3 weeks, we get feedback that they are performing better than some of their local employees did, right? So you don't need to be an expert, but it's really about aligning with what you really love and enjoy, right? Secondly, around that is, what are the skills gaps? So when you look at sort of where you are and where you want to be, what are the skills gaps, and then build a training path to do that, right? We're going to be giving access. There's tons of courses that you can either get free or purchase out there, but what are those skills gaps to really build your skills, and choose where to learn those, right? I mean, you get free resources on YouTube and, LinkedIn Learning and a bunch of, sources that are out there, but really create a game plan for yourself, right? What exactly are your gaps and what do you want to build your skills in? And then, sorry about that. And then what's your career path? And we'll talk about that here in a second. Sorry, guys, this now it's a little touchy here. Going through, an agency path, right? And going with a firm that hires and kind of, we'll talk about like a kind of our model and others that are like this, or going freelance or going direct. And we'll talk about pros and cons of both of those, right? They different kind of requirements and structure and how they're operated. So I'll jump straight into that, right? And again, just be fully transparent here. And because look, for some of you, this is the path. And one of these may make more sense, but we'll share from our own journey and what we've heard from our own staff, kind of what the pros and cons look like. So on the freelancing or going direct to client, right? So if you're going freelancing, if you're going through like online jobs and getting opportunities, or if you're going through, one of the gig economy platforms. So some of the pros, right? Some of the pros are certainly, higher pay potentially, right? Because you're able to kind of get paid sort of directly with them and you can charge different rates, without, the cost structure associated with like organizations like ours, because what it takes to get clients and to support them. It can be more autonomy in some cases, right? Control over who you work with, exactly what type of work you want to be doing. If you just want to be a video editor and that's all you want to do and you're super precise on that, and you want to be flexible on it. And entrepreneurial growth, right? I mean, if you are very entrepreneurial, right? And a lot of people, and again, being a lifetime entrepreneur myself, I've seen a lot of people that think they are that and they're not. But it's also about being real clear. But if you've got that in your blood and you want to do that or build a personal brand, it can be a good, path for you as well, the pro of it, right? The cons, unfortunately, it can be incomes instability, right? So unfortunately, a lot of businesses, and as we're seeing right now, when things happen in the economy or what have you, businesses can, ebb and flow, right? In terms of going out. I mean, there's only, a very small percentage of businesses actually that make it to the 5-year mark. So it's just being aware of that and making sure you got a pulse on that business and their status, right? So income stability, right? Making sure you have a client that's going to be there consistently. But if not, make sure you always are building stuff in the pipeline so you got opportunities that are happening if something happens with that client, right? It can be a challenging client management situation, right? Finding clients, negotiating contracts, chasing payments, making sure they pay you, handling disputes that maybe you have to kind of navigate. Sometimes there's not built-in support and depends on the organization. Now, sometimes if you find a larger company that you can work direct for and they're hiring direct, they may have some support systems. But sometimes, you may not have any kind of HR, training, tech support. You're really your own team to kind of build all your skills and talent to support them. Security of tenure, right? Now some of them may actually agree to do longer term contracts with you, but at the end of the day, if they want to cut ties, they can cut ties. There's no government benefits, unfortunately, like when you're going and hiring, directly. As far as everything we've seen, and I know there's different kind of programs sort of trying to evolve, but not any direct benefits. And the last one I'll just say is isolation. This is really more of a personality, element, right? It's, are you someone that needs a sense of community and you like to be a part of a company and connection and culture, right? Or are you kind of a solo, right? Just kind of, hey, I want to put my headphones on, listen to my tunes and kind of do my work. So also kind of personality profile, right? So working with like an agency model, right? Kind of like what our model is. And, and I chose to go down this path. Just so you can understand from an owner's perspective, when I decided to go down and launch Outsource Access, is I heard from the client side, in the US, and what I experienced directly is they were dealing with lots of turnover issues and challenges, right? And finding people and the stability of it. So I chose to incorporate there in the Philippines. And so we could hire everybody that wanted to pursue this as a career path and we're looking to do this long term so that we could, ensure we're bringing people to clients that are wanting to pursue this long term and stability and have the whole infrastructure and support, right? So, the pros of that is stable long-term opportunities, right? When you work with a firm, an agency, typically, I know like with ours is that, if the client situation doesn't work out, as long as you got good reviews, right, you're guaranteed pay and we'll help source and find and do all the marketing and sales to find those clients, right? You don't have to do any of that work, right? At least how most of the models end up working. Career growth and development, again, if they're structured properly, that they have structured training, ongoing mentorship, skill building programs to help you grow beyond task execution, right? So if you struggle with kind of self-discipline sometimes or kind of creating your own career path or digging in, it can be a good path because they provide that for you. Providing in support from onboarding, technology assistance, coaching, client relationship management, basically kind of making it a turnkey experience for you relative to your skill development and working with clients. The team environment, you're part of a team, or, whether it's, working virtual at home, even like a lot of our staff work at home, but they're still part of teams, with a lot of collaboration, accelerating learning, and you can do a lot of crowdsourcing too. We find, in our type of model is people are able to ping off of each other. Hey, my client is using Go High Level and I haven't used it before, right? Can anybody kind of help me, give me some insider perspective on it? And then pathways to advancement. I know for us, like as soon as people start day one, we paint multiple career paths that people can take. They can enable leadership positions, specialized roles, strategic talent, fostering long-term professional development. So depending on what you're looking for, right? That's kind of the pros. The cons, right? Obviously it is a more, I guess, structured compensation model, at least initially. The initial rates may be lower, right? Compared to what you can, negotiate maybe on freelance arrangements, right? But it can be offset to infrastructure, client management support. So again, it's a pros and cons. So even though, and ideally companies you go to work for, right, are very, I know we do like quarterly benchmarking on compensation to make sure that we are, at absolutely very competitive type of rates. And a lot of times too, depending on the role that you pursue with firms, like with ours, is if you end up doing kind of sales acceleration, sales type supports, there's actually opportunity for commissions that can be even higher than you can make in a freelance type of job. We've actually got some of our staff that are phenomenal sales support, and they actually get commissions from our client for delivering sales, right? So I would ask for that if you go to work for the agency model. And honestly, if you do freelance and direct, right? If you're in sales, negotiate whatever that rate is. But also, hey, if you're helping bring, dollars in the door and land clients, then see if you can negotiate some commission. There's a little less autonomy when you're working with an agency model, right? Assignments may be matched or fit, depending on what the situation is. I know we try to that's why we do this profile and personality assessments. We want to make sure people are being positioned into opportunities that they're going to thrive in. But yeah, there's less autonomy, right? You're working for an employer, you got to make sure you're getting up for certain hours and delivering. And then, policy adherence is required. There's policies, procedures, and professional team, structure, there's SOPs. That's the only way we're successful is by following, procedures and processes. So I'll spend a good bit of time on this one because I think this is at the essence, right, of what we've heard. And for all of you, maybe kind of, again, like I shared in my own journey, maybe kind of at a fork, in a crossroads. But what I will say is, if you went the agency model, we have people that, look, if you could start in that path, right? It could be a great place to build development, build skills, right? For several years, and then, potentially go, the other direction possibly, right? So you're not locked into either one, but just depending on where you are in life, and you start building a family. We know we have a lot of our staff that, were freelancing and so forth. They started building families and benefits, and they needed to have coverage for health insurance for like their parents are staying with them. So, they got to a different phase of life, and that's where they went to. So that's kind of just hopefully the pros and cons in the question section. And please let me know if anything else comes up from that. Um, so what to look for in an offshore, if you go to, work for a company, right? An agency model. I'll just share a couple of quick punch list items here. And again, this will be in that guide, right? As I shared, we're going to share that whole guide to you guys that sent that email to jobs@outsourceaccess.com. We'll send you tons of resources. And in that guide, we'll include this. But, look for a firm that's legally incorporated in, the Philippines, right? There's a lot of people, and I'm in a lot of entrepreneur organizations. There's a lot of people in the US and otherwise that are deciding they want to launch virtual assistant companies, right? And I was actually on the phone with one the other day that called me to be a mentor. And wasn't even incorporated at all. And none of his staff even knew that, right? So make sure you got a company that's legally incorporated in the Philippines, that they are providing full-time career path for you, right? That there is opportunity for full-time. It's not just a one-off type of deal. It's not project-based. And are they guaranteeing you ongoing work if that client that you have ends up, fading or something transitions? And as long as you get good ratings, that they're guaranteeing that you're going to get that opportunity kind of going forward. Government mandated benefits. I mean, that's a standard. Make sure you get an HMO and there's all kinds of different healthcare, right? So depending on what your needs are, I mean, I know we swapped over, I believe to MaxiCare to even step up our insurance because of some of the benefits that it offered. And particularly the need to cover additional family members in the household, particularly with, parents. So again, look at where you are in life, right? You may be in a place, you're young, don't have much responsibility, go the freelance route, but this is kind of where, this can be, longer term. Security of tenure kind of ties to the other one on the path being, versus being project based. And the company culture is so important, you guys know the famous quote, I think it was Peter Drucker, right? Culture eats strategy for lunch, right? So at the end of the day, companies live and die by their culture. So, look at the culture of the organization. And do they promote open communication? Do they celebrate achievements? Do they provide recognition? Do they offer training and wellness programs and community? I think we've gotten where we're up to like 8 internal programs that we have. We end up launching our own magazine. We showcase our employees. So really, really look for company culture and really ask around, right? And dig deep in that and make sure, is it just something that's a bunch of words on a wall or a piece of paper or on their website that's their core values, or do they actually live and breathe that, right? So try and find other people that work at the company to kind of direct insight on it. Next one here. Oh, and I meant to share, I'll drop in the chat everybody as well. I had some people asking about where, so I'll put in the chat there where you can send to get those resources. I know some folks were asking there. All right, what to look for in a direct client, okay? So if you're going that path, if you want to go down to a direct client opportunity and you want to pursue that, kind of some things to look for. So as you know, there's big platforms out there, these gig economy platforms that basically bring the world together for gig-based type of work. And you can get longer term work. I mean, I know people that have hired folks on Upwork and have been using them for years, right? So Upwork, onlinejobs.ph, where you're going to able to post your resume. And there's, businesses that are looking for people on there, just like a traditional job staffing board. Fiverr, LinkedIn, obviously, is a great place you can go and source and find clients. FlexJobs, Freelancer. So these are just a few. And again, we've got a ton of resources can share, but these are the things to kind of look for, right? And again, this is what I experienced, right? Personally, when I went down this path and hired my first staff kind of this way before, launching our company, is make sure there's clear scope and expectations, right? Because this is what we deal with as well, is when does it fail with us, with clients, right? And this is why we filter heavily. We don't even take every client that comes in, right? Because we know that there's challenges. And if you get a crazy client that has wild expectations, they're not willing to slow down long enough to give you instruction, give you clarity, right? Then it's going to be a failure experience, for us. And they want to blame it on you sometimes, right? And they try to blame it on us, right? And we go back and look like, nope, you just don't have your act together, right? So if clients are living in a tornado, and trust me, being an entrepreneur my entire life, being a part of EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, and Kate, who we're both part of that, got a chance to the introduction. So thanks, Kate, for that connection. And she knows we've both seen it, right? That it's a crazy world that a lot of entrepreneurs live in. And if they don't have their act together and they introduce you into their chaos, right, then you're going to fail. So make sure that they're clear, they know how to communicate, and make sure they know tools. Like, do they know how to use like Loom, right, for screencasting to communicate processes and protocols? Are they using, those types of things? Do they know how password sharing, like Dashlane and LastPass and so forth, right? Do they want a long-term relationship? Oh, sorry, fair rates and respect for time. Do they understand the value of your work and are willing to pay accordingly, right? So as you can kind of benchmark and see what the opportunities and rates are for certain things, and that they're understanding, right? They understand and respectful of your life, your family, and they're not looking for around the clock expectation, right? Because sometimes again, people in other countries, in the US otherwise, have never been to other countries. They have certain preconceived notions, right, about the Philippines and otherwise. And so when I speak on this is why I bring videos and show behind the scenes, that, it's respecting individuals just like you would a local employee in the US, right? That they want a long-term relationship, that they talk about repeat work, retention, growing your role over time. Ask them, about, is there a career path here that you're looking for? Responsive and professional. And one thing I'll say on that too is, if they're willing, at least like have them do some kind of a paper agreement with you, right? Even though it may not hold up trying to enforce it internationally, at least in the spirit, it means that, like, they're showing a commitment, to you, and get those terms on paper, right? Responsive and professional, right? They're communicating to you in a professional way, open to feedback and collaboration, right? So they're not just, handing you tasks and expecting you to be a robot, right? But like treat you as a partner. And that's what we filter for. And that's why we only do full-time, at Outsource Access. Like when clients want to engage with us, we only do full-time. We don't do fractional, right? Because we want people that want to embrace our staff. They're going to feel a part of their team. If you ask any of our clients, they feel like their staff at Outsource Access are just a part of their company and their culture. We want to know their mission. We want to know their core values, right? We've had clients that have sent over swag. I'll share some stories. Actually had some clients that have flown our staff over to their businesses as well. So, try and build that same relationship with whoever you're working with to be collaborative. Willing to sign a contract or pay a deposit. Again, internationally it can be challenged to hold up contracts, but again, it's about in spirit, kind of what it's representing, by having that, right? So, and then positive reviews or referrals, right? So if you've got, if you can look and see if anything about them, go look on their websites, go Google them, the owner, the CEO, right? You can see on Glassdoor, like all of you look at in the Philippines, they got it in the US. Go look for that so that, you can go see if there's anything that's written about them and how they handle things and manage people, right? And if they have, right, and they're willing to give you, and this will actually be really spectral in their eyes, if they have done a profile assessment like DISC or predictive index or anything of that nature, ask them for that as well, right? Because that'll give you more insight about who they are as an individual. All right. All right. So time check here. So now we started around 10:20 with our, okay. So I'll get here in about another 6 or 7 minutes and we'll get to our Q&A. So that was, and I took a good bit of time on that because from my understanding and feedback from everyone, those elements are really at the crux. And I genuinely, right, because, and that's honestly why I've helped 4 other companies launch in the Philippines that have become competitors to me over there, right? Fellow entrepreneurs and business owners, I showed them the path of how to do this because I have a very abundance mindset, right? And because I've seen the impact of what it's done for businesses and certainly all of you. I mean, I've seen it just change people's lives. So, want to share the full range and help understand the different paths there. But career paths, this is one thing I want to talk about, is virtual assistant career paths, right? So again, when I say the word virtual assistant, and again, I know that's the language everybody knows, but really you're a full team member for these companies, right? You just happen to be in the Philippines, but you're working side by side with them. So, and I'll just show all these, won't read through all of them, but these are just some of the types of roles, right, that you can find yourself in. Unfortunately, VA has been the general description around it, but really this is you're in essence a full-time staff, resource, for these companies. And depending on where your passion is, you can, full engagement in all of these different capacities, whether it's finance, sales, industry specific, tech and creative, you get a full range of opportunities there. And just to show you guys a quick example, and I was asking when we were prepping for this to show, but just to give you a quick little case study, and this is a company that's a national outdoor services company in the United States. They're growing rapidly. They provide yard service programs. They're nationally expanding all over the United States, right? They found out about us, Outsource Access. We went through the whole process, figured out their constraints. They started with 1 with us, and now they got 12 staff that are doing inside sales, working directly with their managers. And I showed on the org chart, right? So the cool thing is whether you go direct, and you can find these type of opportunities, and this is what we focus on in our company, is you become a part of their org chart. You become a part of their team. You're not just a third-party vendor, right? You're actually there side by side, building skills, right? With a VP of operations. I mean, Tommy and Estrella, I mean, they're able to work, side by side with Matt, the VP of operations. Inside sales, you have to work directly with Sandy, the director of sales, right? So it's an opportunity you can integrate side by side, with.
Hi, my name.
I'll show a quick
Hi, my name is.
video here for you guys as one other quick example. Again, of seeing yourself, right, in this kind of journey. And so the story of Rika here is I'll share a quick little insight from her path.
Hi, my name is Rika. I've been with Outsource Access for 3 years now. I support a painting company. As a virtual assistant, my role is to help improve efficiency across all departments. So I can be a sales and marketing assistant, an operations assistant, data analyst, payroll assistant, anything to streamline operations and to help save time. My success has contributed to their success. Revenue-wise, in year 2021, their revenue was 3 million. That was before me. And then during me, 2022, 5 million. And then last year, they were in 7.5 million.
Because of her exceptional contribution, Rika was honored with the Client Success Impact Award, recognized not just by us here at Outsource Access, but more importantly, by her client and their employees at Hyler Painting.
Also want to give a huge shout out to Rika. You've been here now, it's your 3-year anniversary, and words can't describe what you've meant to the company over the past 3 years in helping us grow and making things more efficient.
So just share that for all of you, just to get a sense of what the journey can be like. And a lot of you, I know if you haven't gone down this path, and what is it like to work with some U.S. business owner, right? How are they going to treat me? What's that experience going to be like? Sorry, guys, it looks like my slides. Hey, team, real quick. It looks like looks like it locked up here. Give me 1 second. I'm not sure what happened. Sorry, everyone, give me just 1 second. Looks like for some reason my Google Chrome there. I've quite literally never had this happen before. All right, hold on just 1 second, everybody. I'm going to try and see if I can get this to. Okay, there we go. I get back. Okay, there we go. Sorry about it, everybody. That was very strange. I don't know. I just had a thing lock up there. So just a few final things I'll share here, and then we'll pause. But I'd love to see the chat. If this has been helpful for everybody, would love to just get any kind of quick feedback, a yes and so forth, as far as this kind of hitting on the topic. And if there's anything that question wise that you've got that we're not hitting as we kind of go through, please make sure to post that, and we'll address that when we get to that piece. So I'll go quickly here. I know we're on time, but at the end of the day, right? It's less about affordable and offshore for a lot of businesses. It's just about the talent and the talent that all of you can bring to the table, right? And when you look at what are companies looking for in their VAs, right? And again, I'll read all of this here, and you can have the recording, take a screenshot of this. But at the end of the day, right, whether it's a direct client or whether it's a firm like ours, it's about proactive communication, right? Being a proactive thinker. If you are an externally motivated person, right, where you constantly have to be motivated outside, right, versus being internally motivated, that you're driven, right? And fortunately, that's a big, unique characteristic, in the Filipino culture, right? Is a lot of you are so internally motivated. You're driven to learn and to grow. Reliability and strong work ethic, technical competence, organizational skills, cultural compatibility and professionalism, right? And if you don't have some of those, right, you can get trained up in it, like the executive assistant course that we're talking about that we provide, or otherwise. Again, back to that beginning, slide. Where are your gaps that you need to fill, and make sure you create a path for filling those gaps, right? And what's the right mindset to succeed? And again, like I talked about, when it comes to core values of a company. One of the best ways for us to share the best mindset to you is through our own core values as a company that we put a lot of time in. If any of you are familiar with Jim Collins, which he's one of those prolific business leaders and writers, globally, certainly in the U.S. But he wrote a book called Good to Great, and it's one of the foundations that we built all of our business around. And so our core values actually spell the word great. And so for us, it's gratitude, right? It's about being humble and a strong sense of gratitude, for the things that we have in life, each breath you take and each opportunity that comes along, relationship driven. And this is so important. Being relationship driven with your colleagues, as well as with the client that you're working with, putting those relationships above everything else. And again, that goes to the culture, right? Not being a toxic individual, right? All of us know the toxic individuals in our life, right? Whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, whether it's a coworker, these people have got something going on that they can't fill a bucket, right? They're toxic, they impact others. And unfortunately, they find their ways into companies sometimes as well, right? And we try to identify those and I have a kind of zero toxicity policy almost. There's nothing more frustrating than those that just live to create drama, right? So being relationship driven with your colleagues and with the other, ever-long quest for improvement, right? And this is absolutely at the essence, constantly be learning. And I'm telling you, in the AI world that we're in, it is so critical more than ever. Accountability, right? Being willing to be accountable for your work and execution and performance. And then teamwork. As cliche as it is, it's so critical, right? You don't point fingers, you collaborate and build bridges, together. So if I could leave you some mindset elements, those are some key things to think about, as kind of you're looking down to head down this, this path. It necessarily you have to do this, but showing here, this is actually about 27 hours. And this is the kind of stuff that's kind of included in the executive assistant training that we have. And then we do additional stuff with people that kind of onboard with us to kind of really, really skill up to be an executive assistant. And a lot of you already got some experience in this stuff. So in the foundational skills we talked about, right? If nothing else, right, get these basic foundational skills, right? Digital, typing and formatting, email management, calendar, using the basic communication tools of email and, and chat and WhatsApp, being able to do basic, web browser research, task management, file sharing. And honestly, I'll put ChatGPT on that one as well, right? ChatGPT is becoming as foundational as, Gmail these days, right? And then soft skills, right? Being able to communicate, time management, critical thinking, attention to detail, and just being responsive. Just don't ghost people, right? That's one of the biggest pet peeves that people have in working is all of a sudden somebody just disappears or they don't communicate. And sometimes it's because they feel embarrassed about sharing why they can't be there. If you got a family thing going on, right? Everybody's human here, whether you're a business owner in the United States or somebody in the Philippines, we all got children, we got, mothers and fathers, we got things that are going on in your life. Just let people know what's going on, right? If you have to navigate that, but not to a fault, right? Because we always know those people that always got something going on, right? And have some time management issues and don't show up. And if you're constantly late and not delivering and being on time, this may not be the career path, for you. And you take a snapshot of this. I won't go through. This is just kind of, typical, computer spec requirements as well to kind of keep in mind in terms of a computer equipment, usually looking for, particularly if you're going to be a direct client experience. And then common mistakes, right? And I'll just talk about the high levels on these. And we already addressed it a good bit here. And again, you guys want to take a screenshot of this. And we'll send this in the entire guide that we'll provide to you as well. Is over committing on skills. Don't say you can do things that you can't do, right? I can't tell you how many people we've gotten that said, yeah, I know how to do QuickBooks, and they don't know how to do QuickBooks. Oh, yes, I know how to do Excel and Google Sheets, and they don't know how to do it, right? That'll create a very negative stigma. Schedule misalignment, right? If you're willing to work night shift, make sure you are crystal clear and you're okay with that. There's some people that say they can do it and they can't, right? Before you commit to that, whether you go direct or either you go with an agency or a model, make sure that you do that, right? And so those are some tips that our team has shared. We'll kind of put in that guide for you as well. Inconsistent end of day communication. I tell you, if you're working, this is a critical thing that shows so much value. Our clients love this, is that we do an end of day recap. What have I done? What have I performed? How have you executed? They love that. And that keeps them in the loop about what you're doing, right? And then being reactive instead of proactive. I can't say enough about how powerful this is that, instead of just doing the task and then sitting there and twiddling and waiting for the next one, be proactive. What can you do to take the next step? Go into ChatGPT and said, hey, my client just asked me to do X, Y, Z. What are 5 other things I could do to add value, right? So be proactive instead of reactive. And then not staying updated on tools or trends, right? And again, I won't read through all these, and it's a lot of text on here. We'll send in the guide, but you can take a screenshot. But make sure you're staying relevant, right? Don't stagnate when it comes to tools. Over depend on the client for direction. This comes back to proactive thinking, right? Find ways you can be proactive. And if you're working with an agency and a firm like ourselves, we kind of put a model in place to stay engaged and how we get constraints that clients, we can create a constant runway of work that you're focusing on. But even if you are with a firm, look for ways that you can add value versus just constantly waiting for them to drive you forward, right? And then not asking questions early. And I would invite all of you, right? Most all clients want your opinion and perspective a lot of times. And make sure that we try to make sure we invite people into that conversation from the beginning because it's critical and it's important, right? That you have value. You're seeing levels of their business and things that you're doing, and you're seeing issues and mistakes a lot of times that maybe they're not seeing it all, right? So it's a value. And I tell you, if you can identify a mistake or an issue and bring it to a client, do it in a respectful way, but they'll be so thankful. we actually had one of our staff in the Philippines actually solve a dispute between two American employees of one of our clients not too long ago. And so the last thing I'll share is, limited understanding of the client's business or industry, right? Again, this goes to overcommitting on skills and experience, right? If you don't know commercial real estate, if you don't know some of these, don't say that you do, right? Be honest. Say, look, I'm a fast learner. I'm a good communicator. I can take feedback. Hey, I spent the last 3 hours researching commercial real estate. I've learned it. I know the basics. I know the terms, right? But I want to learn it, for you and your industry, right? So don't overcommit, but there's an opportunity. You can get up to speed pretty quickly in the fundamentals of one of these industries, right? So the last thing I'll share, and we'll jump, is AI trends. And all of you know this, right? This is where everything is going. Using these tools, it's going to be the human plus the AI element that's going to be the really scalable resource in the future, right? So really take time. And again, we'll include this in the guide for a lot of things for you to look at. But proactively look at emerging AI technologies. Dig into ChatGPT. Use the free one. Do the paid one if you can do it. Learn it. Understand it. Build an awareness, sign up for newsletters around it, go join Facebook groups around AI, right? Build your skill set and be tip of the sword with it. It'll take your strategic capability to another level. Deepen your industry specific expertise, right? There's certain tech that's specific to certain industries. And if you got an industry you want to work in, really focus on the tech and tools that are for that particular industry. Cultivate emotional intelligence, critical thinking, interpersonal communication, right? Those are irreplaceable. So when you talk about things that can't be replaced by AI, right, building that humanistic skill set at scale is really important, right? Because that isn't going to be, overnight replaced from an AI standpoint. And honestly, you can kind of rebrand yourself, right? Once you've built those skill sets, taken some certifications and so forth, right? It's actually great phrasing. You're an AI augmented VA, right? You're an AI proficient, means that you know how to do it, you know how to use the tools. That's going to make you attractive for, future opportunities, right? This I share, so again, back to a culture thing, and this is actually our magazine we have in the Philippines that we do to showcase and highlight our staff. We put the VA of the year who gets the award on the cover, and inside of it, we showcase all of our employees. So again, going back to when you're looking for firms, looking for culture, companies that celebrate you and your success and what you're doing going forward, right? And so I'll pause on that in terms of time. We'll send you go to our website and see tons of videos. But as I share, for those of you who joined late, I'm happy to, if you want to send an email to this jobs@Outsource Access, we'll send you, again, whatever path you want to take. As you've seen in this presentation, I want to make sure you're equipped, whether you go direct, whether you go to a firm, whether you go through, a gig economy platform, things to keep in mind to protect yourself. And it may change over time, and in your life journey, you may go one path and then go to another. But we'd love to send you all these resources, and we'll send you instructions about get free access to our executive assistant training program. Briefly here, but we'll send the instructions around that. We're looking for people that want to shoot a quick video of themselves and why they think they'd be a great executive assistant. And we had a limited number that we're going to be able to do on this. We'll send instructions on it. But we'll give you free access to it. If we can see you put a little skin in the game, right? And so as I talked about, one of the qualities is being proactive and driven. When I posted my very first job board ad and found my first VA, I said, you've got to shoot a video of yourself and tell me why you looked at my company, why you think you're a fit, right? And ended up choosing Jacelle initially because she was one of the few that actually did that, right? So that's one of the criteria we're going to do here for folks to get access to that course that we'll send your way. So again, I apologize no time. I know we started about 20 minutes late and so forth, but I wanted to pack as much value in here for everybody. So I'll pause here on questions. I know I would kind of facilitate that. I've got some of my team members here who will be available to answer. So I know we got the chat that's come through here, but Celine, as far as who will facilitate kind of the Q&A process.
All right. I think you're done, Brad.
How was it? Was it helpful for everybody here? I'd love to see comments and feedback. And if there's any gap that we missed, right? This is the first one that's being done here. So we tried to quickly assemble. It kind of came relatively kind of shorter notice in the last couple of weeks. But let us know any gaps that we missed in content you'd love to know more about. So that can really help us drill down as we do future ones of these.
All right. But for now, let's give a virtual round of applause for Mr. Brad Stevens.